Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. According to newly unsealed court records, special counsel Jack Smith seized an extensive data set from President Trump's Twitter account. Court filings reveal a connection between Obama's White House counsel and Jeffrey Epstein, while JP Morgan helped facilitate payments to the victims. Gleen Beck shows were removed from iTunes presumably because of his coverage of the Biden crime family. Solar panels and electric vehicle batteries are now facing more scrutiny at the border to make sure that the products were not made with forced labor in the forced labor camps of Xinjiang, China. Human trafficking across the English Channel continues even after shots rang out and a boat was overturned, killing 6 people being trafficked. Okay, let's get into it. According to newly unsealed court records, special counsel Jack Smith seized an extensive data set from President Trump's Twitter account. Jack Smith asked the federal judge Burl Howell in January for a secret search warrant of President Trump's Twitter account. And now the released documents provide details about what prosecutors were looking for. The data includes deleted direct messages, other direct messages, draft posts, as well as all searches that were connected to his account. It also includes information on the location of the users who posted to the account. Actually, the search warrant was so secret that President Trump didn't even know that Jack Smith issued a subpoena for the records. This is because the Justice Department obtained a non-disclosure order prohibiting Twitter from informing President Trump about Jack Smith's subpoena. According to newly unsealed documents, the federal judge Howell claimed that President Trump might flee if he learned of the secret warrant. Howell said that immediate notification of the customer or subscriber of the target account would seriously jeopardize the ongoing investigation. As such, a disclosure would give that person an opportunity to destroy evidence, change patterns of behavior, notify Confederates, and flee from prosecution. The Justice Department also argued that President Trump would jeopardize the so-called ongoing investigation. However, later, Jack Smith admitted to Judge Howell that he included inaccurate information when he suggested that President Trump would become a flight risk if he learned about the secret gag order. Throughout the months-long legal battle, Twitter argued that the non-disclosure order violated the First Amendment and the Stored Communications Act. Twitter claimed that President Trump's private messages were covered under executive privilege. Twitter argued that there's no need to shield the search warrant from President Trump because of all the public information about the investigation. Twitter objected to the claims from Smith and Judge Howell, arguing that there's no reason to believe that notification of this latest search warrant in this investigation would suddenly cause President Trump or any potential Confederates to destroy evidence, intimidate witnesses, or to flee prosecution. Twitter lawyers said in the February 2nd filing that the former president has announced that he's running for re-election in 2024, which renders it highly implausible that he will attempt to flee the country, and even more unlikely that such flight would be precipitated by this specific warrant. In a hearing on February 7th, Judge Howell said that she understood that Twitter wanted to have the non-disclosure order modified in order to take out the potential risk of flight by the president. Howell replied, although he does have property overseas, that would be probative. One Twitter lawyer later said that the risk of flight claim doesn't make a lot of sense. Judge Howell then said, I would agree with that. However, prosecutors later retracted the claim in their formal response to Twitter in February by writing that they included the language in error. Also, the newly released document shows the degree of frustration from prosecutors over the resistance from Twitter to turn over the subpoenaed materials. DOJ attorney Thomas Wyndham complained about earlier phone calls to address their concerns prior to appearing in court. Wyndham said, I had felt like I had been getting nickeled and dimed for the prior 20 minutes of conversation. We need the material. We need it now. We needed it 13 days ago. But clearly, they didn't really need it. Twitter appealed Judge Howell's ruling, but the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ultimately sided with Judge Burl Howell. And eventually, Twitter was fined $350,000 because Twitter delayed producing the subpoenaed records. President Trump has slammed the DOJ for the search of his Twitter account. President Trump has accused the prosecutors of breaking into his account. President Trump posted to Truth Social that how dare low-life prosecutor, deranged Jack Smith, break into my Twitter account without informing me and indeed trying to completely hide this atrocity from me? What could he possibly find out that is not already known? A recent court filing exposed a not-so-shocking connection between Jeffrey Epstein, former Obama White House counsel Catherine Rumler, and JPMorgan Chase. This revelation comes years after JP Morgan claimed to have cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein. The recent court filing shed light on Epstein's arrest for child sex trafficking charges. The filing also raised questions about the ethical practices of one of the world's largest banks. Previously, a civil lawsuit in federal court pitted the U.S. Virgin Islands government against JPMorgan Chase. The territory alleges that JPMorgan Chase enabled Epstein's recruiters to pay victims in large quantities of cash, and JPMorgan Chase was indispensable to the operation and concealment of Epstein's trafficking enterprise. The lawsuit revealed a wide range of information regarding the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring and its workings. The case also revealed victims, clients, enablers, and co-conspirators. The lawsuit also disclosed that JP Morgan has filed documents showing how deeply some top U.S. officials were involved in Epstein's affairs. And now, according to the recent court filing, which was issued in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Epstein's personal assistant reached out to a senior executive at JPMorgan Chase in February of 2019. This was to facilitate opening an account for Catherine Rumler. Rumler served as White House counsel under President Obama from 2011 to 2014. She is now general counsel for Goldman Sachs. She was referred to as an ideal client by the firm. Reportedly, this introduction came just weeks after Epstein was arrested. It also came 6 years after JPMorgan Chase claimed to have ended its relationship with Epstein due to internal concerns. Mary Erdos, who was the head of asset and wealth management of JP Morgan, received an email from Epstein's office regarding Rumler. Erdos forwarded the request to Stacey Friedman, who is the general counsel of JP Morgan. Erdos questioned the connection in the email, asking that any reason we shouldn't take her? Odd that this is coming from Jeffrey Epstein. However, Friedman responded by praising Rumler's legal skills and enthusiasm about her potential as a client. The recent court filing stated that JP Morgan admitted that Epstein was involved in establishing a customer relationship with Catherine Rumler. The filing indicated in February of 2019 that Epstein's assistant, Leslie Groff, offered to introduce Erdos to Rumler, so this activity continued after Epstein's arrest, and of course, he's not the only one who had an island. Gleen Beck, the founder of Blaze Media, announced that Apple removed all of his podcasts from iTunes on Wednesday. Beck pointed to a message that he received from Apple in a video on Twitter.
Hey, we're just sitting here in my office and we're discussing something that we just saw here. This is from Apple. We found an issue with your show, the Gleen Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcast. Your show's been removed from Apple Podcast from the Apple Podcast team. They sent us a link and said for more details, go to the link, and the link only says your show has been removed from Apple Podcasts. Well, we got that one, dummy. I mean, I cannot imagine what they're basing this one on. I mean, have we even had strikes? Nothing, right? This is crazy.
Beck believes that Apple's move might be related to his podcast about the Biden family.
Again, it's probably just a glitch, but it's amazing how we have to have a whole bunch of people point out the glitch before the glitch is found and it's put back. Man, this is huge. well, I'm getting ready to do the show or rehearse the show for tonight. Tonight's a really important. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're just smoked because I'm pointing out the real crime family tonight on Blaze TV. This is why it's so important to get Blaze TV, because we're not playing this game. We don't censor anybody. And out of all the shows, my show is the one to get nailed. Interesting.
Before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you are still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. Okay, let's get back into it. The United States is now investigating car batteries and other car parts as part of an effort to cut out Chinese supply chains that are linked to forced labor camps. Until now, enforcement of a year-old U.S. law has focused only on solar panels, tomatoes, and cotton apparel. But now, components that may include lithium-ion batteries, tires, and major automobile raw materials such as aluminum and steel are increasingly being stopped at the border. The increased inspection of products by U.S. Customs and Border Protection could signal difficult times ahead for automakers who will need solid proof that their supply chains are free of links to Xinjiang, China. This is because the U.S. knows that Chinese authorities have established these labor camps for Uyghurs and other Muslim minority groups with people of Turkish descent in Xinjiang. They are imprisoned to brainwash them or to re-educate them, as the CCP calls it. More than a year of enforcement of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act has already delayed the development of solar energy projects because many solar companies continue to directly or indirectly source materials from Xinjiang. So detained solar panel shipments remain in U.S. warehouses. When the shipments are stopped, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection gives the importer a list of examples of restricted products. They will also give the importer the documentation that is required to prove that the products are not made with forced labor. A Customs and Border Protection spokesperson said that the document was updated between April and June to include batteries, tires, aluminum, and steel. Customs and Border Protection data shows that 31 automotive aerospace shipments have been detained under the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act since February of this year. Mercedes-Benz USA and Volkswagen, among others, said that they had no detained products under the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Ford, Bosch, General Motors, Honda, and Toyota said in written statements that they were committed to ensuring that their supply chains were free of forced labor. Meanwhile, in another move to prevent forced labor use in supply chains, a Canadian corporate ethics watchdog in Ottawa recently announced an investigation into the fashion company Ralph Lauren. Sherry Meyerhofer, who is the Canadian ombudsperson for responsible enterprise, claimed that it's not clear whether Ralph Lauren is doing enough to cut out factors that are linked to the CCP's mistreatment of the Uyghurs. However, Meyerhofer's report noted that Ralph Lauren insisted that it is not subject to a Canadian probe since it's an American company. Ralph Lauren also detailed its measures to prevent forced labor. Meyerhofer has also asked the Toronto-based mining company Goulet to improve its policies to prevent forced labor use in its supply chains. Human rights abuses and forced labor camps are among China's main problems under the Communist Party. While the Uyghurs in Xinjiang are the most known for being in labor camps and they suffer in large numbers, other groups of people also are held in labor camps. This includes Falun Gong practitioners who are also being held in large numbers. According to a report by Amnesty International, Falun Gong practitioners constituted on average from 1/3 to, in some cases, 100% of the total population of certain re-education through labor camps. Hopefully, the tighter controls at the border will help raise awareness of these human rights atrocities and will help free these people from this religious persecution. There's a rise in violence among migrants in northern France as ethnically based gangs compete to control the highly profitable human trafficking trade. Currently, Afghan traffickers have overtaken the once dominant Kurdish smuggling gangs in northern France, and third place belongs to Albanian gangs. Afghan gangs are actively attempting to break into the United Kingdom illegally. Over the weekend, gunshots were heard at the Grande Synthe migrant camp, which is near Calais, northern France. This took place when a migrant boat sank in the English Channel. Reportedly, 6 people drowned and more than 60 people were rescued by French and British rescue crews. The channel between France and Britain is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, and the tides are strong, so it's dangerous for small boats. Unfortunately, migrants pay massive amounts of money to criminal gangs who take advantage of Europe's weak borders to traffic people in. In August, more than 2,000 migrants from Iran, Syria, and Afghanistan reached Britain in small and unsafe boats. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has promised to stop the boats while he prepared for an election that is expected next year. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've also heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore from YouTube. So please follow us on Telegram, Gab, Getter, True Social, Twitter, and on Ganjing World for the latest updates. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.